Gib, I've been impressed as we've talked about it going into this year, and as we get into the second half of the year, how big the election in Washington is playing in this upcoming second half of the year, in the effect and ultimate effect of the marketplace.
I think, I don't want to sound alarmist, but this might be the biggest election in our lives, because we're facing $14 trillion of debt and how that debt is going to be handled. We're facing a fiscal cliff at the end of the year that, if not handled correctly, could cause markets, as you heard from Jeffrey Kleintop, when a GDP, we've never faced a GDP retraction of more than 2% so quickly. If the fiscal cliff hits, it's over 3.5. So there's a lot that's facing, and these elections are very important to forge ahead a plan to at least try to unwind some of this debt and have a budget that people can live with.
I think the market is really looking to where the direction of the country is going to go. Are we going to end up going into 2013 more of a social democracy, where the government plays a bigger part and controls what we do as individuals? Or are we going to be a country that is still the free enterprise country, the country of packing up your stuff, going west and building your dream, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but you still have the freedom to move ahead. The market, to me, seems to be looking at that. Now, with that being said, you have to ask yourself, how in the world over the next 4 or 5 months do I invest to try to maximize my performance? And I've sat down, like you have sat down on a regular basis with our clients, and said to them, okay, what we have just described says to you through the rest of this year we're going to have volatility. That's what it means to me. We're going to be, because those answers won't be determined till November 4th, and then if there is a stated direction, you can make adjustments accordingly.
Right.
But between now and then, we're going to have volatility.
Absolutely, and that's why our portfolios, I think, for most of our clients, have been more on the defensive side for the last 18 months because of those unknowns. We've known this was coming. I would agree with your assessment that there's a real battle for the direction that the country is going to go in, and that's why I think it's an extremely important election. I think there's 3 or 4 different scenarios that could occur. I think that, and Jeffrey Kleintop talked about those, that the House and the Senate could both go Republican, and we could have President Obama reelected. And if that were the case, it's not the optimal for markets, but at least it does have a stated direction for probably the direction that the budget is going to go in.
Yes.
If the House and the Senate and the presidency were to all become Democratic, as you mentioned, a social democracy would probably be the direction of the country, and I don't think the markets would like that a whole lot.
No.
So it is going to be an important battle, and we'll have to make adjustments accordingly as we start.
And then the other side, if Romney wins, and then there is a change, and there's Republican control of both sides, then the market might just take off. Now, with that being said, that doesn't solve Europe.
No.
So Europe is still out there, but it does relieve some of the local national pressure that it is. We still would have to worry about unemployment. We still have to, the deficit issue has to still be addressed. Housing still has to be done, but at least a direction. Your first comment, where the country is going or where it's pointed, I think would relieve some of the pressure the market is under at this point in time.
Yes. So I think remaining conservative in portfolios makes sense because there's still so many unknowns.
We use the word conservative. What does conservative mean? And I've said to our clients, on average, and everybody's different, we customize everybody's portfolio, but I would venture to say we're anywhere from 5 percentage points to maybe as much as 15 percentage points in a safe haven of bonds at this point in time earning yield, where we would like that to be over in the equity side with growth as an opportunity to make it go. But because of the volatility concern and where we are, we're going to stay in that defensive position and then readjust.
And bonds do have risk, especially the type of bonds that you own. So, eventually those will have to be adjusted accordingly as inflation and interest rates begin to change. So, there's risk on both sides, but now the less risk seems to be on the bond side, because we have a very placid type of atmosphere when it comes to interest rates and inflation, at least according to the Fed.
A couple of final things. We continue to be overweighted in the equities that pay dividends. We think that is large company, multinational companies through funds, ETFs, and individual stocks that pay dividends. That seems to be being a positive reward for us. The mid-cap growth area has done reasonably well for the first half of this year. And then select areas that we have focused on, and we're rebuilding the portfolios with real estate, and that is moving on an upside too. So we see that as a positive position. I would not be surprised if the Fed sometime between now and September don't do QE3.
I agree with that. The sooner the better. And the Fed's sort of under the gun to do it sooner, because it becomes more of a political item if they wait later in the year, because it would benefit the current administration. So I think you're going to see that in the next 30 days or not, I think. But I think that the odds are that we would see some form of QE3. The impact that it would have, I think, would only be more from a morale standpoint to the markets, more so than any benefit.
You'll see a cheerleading kind of bump up in the marketplace. Right. It wouldn't be the economic strong legs under the table that changes how the economy is.
Right.
And so, because the reality of it is, it's really not a good thing.
Because you're having to, because it means there's weakness.
That's correct.
So I think you're right. I think that will come. I think it'll have a momentary positive impact on the markets, but it'll all be fleshed out over the last 2 or 3 months left in the year. And then finally, there's always that unknown, and that's geopolitical. We've had the Arab Spring, which has caused tremendous changes to affect the Middle East. Syria now is a real powder keg, because it looks like the Assad administration will eventually be gone. But what that vacuum that's created, what would take its place, with Hezbollah being such a big part of Syria, that's troubling to the Israelis. And then there's the ongoing dispute between the Israelis, Iranians, really the rest of the world, as far as their nuclear buildup. So those things are there. It's not getting the play if you watch the nightly news, because the elections are, and that's going to continue. But it is something that we always have to be concerned about, and another reason why I think we remain more conservative in our portfolio.
All right, so we'll finish out this year ultimately looking at the market to be higher than it is today. The value of higher, it could be small, but it's certainly not going to be huge. But nonetheless, we do feel it's going to be moving in an upward direction. We're dedicated. We continue to review portfolios on a very regular basis. You and I and Jeff and all our staff, and then outside sources, we gather information and meet on a very regular basis. If we need to make changes, we'll make changes. We overweight in values, large cap values, overweight in areas of dividends, and then we look for opportunities in special sectors, and we watch the bond side because we know how critical it is.
We hope you've enjoyed this. Feel free to give us a call, 336-544-6802, or email us with any questions that you may have. If you'd like an appointment, please call our office, 544-6800, and we'll be able to set that up for you. Hope you've enjoyed this. This is going to be a new way for us to communicate with our clients and our friends. It's a nice medium that you can see us, and at the same time we can provide you valuable information. So look for more of these in the future. Have a great rest of the year, and always remember,
It is your money.
and your money matters.
It's your money.